Welcome to Indianapolis, the heart of motorsports in America. Renowned for its deep-rooted racing legacy, the city is home to the iconic Indianapolis Motor Speedway, a venue synonymous with speed, precision and adrenaline. This weekend, the storied circuit welcomes the Ferrari Challenge Series for the 6th round of the North American Championship. After a season of fierce competition across the nation, drivers now prepare to conquer the legendary 2.5-mile road course where every corner tests their skill and determination. As the unmistakable roar of Ferrari engines fill the air, one thing is certain, it's time to go racing at Indianapolis. Hello, good morning, welcome to Sunday here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway and the Ferrari Challenge. Round 6 of the 2024 season. This is race day 2 here as we look at the pagoda and the cityscape behind us here from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, standing by to getting qualifying underway for the race action to come a little bit later today. And curious calendar that you saw there. We've had a wonderful season where we started at the Circuit of the Americas and then Laguna Seca. Then, of course, at Montreal, Watkins Glen, Sonoma Raceway. Here we are at Indianapolis. And the final hurrah, as I've mentioned more than once over this weekend, for the 488 Challenge cars. And we'll see those cars out for qualifying in due course. So, what a beautiful shot that is, and Indianapolis in the sunshine, that's what it looks like, and that's what it will be like today. The weather forecast is really rather good. We've been blessed with some great weather for this weekend. The Indianapolis Motor Speedway is a test for our drivers. It looks pretty simple on paper, or indeed on those graphics. 14 turns, 5 left, 9 right, but by Jiminy, to get this track right, you need to be on your mettle and to be able to understand the nuances of actually some quite complicated sequence of turns that await us here at Indianapolis. At the moment, the track temperature is 33 degrees and the air temperature 22. Expect those, of course, to increase as we have around about 9:18 local time here right now. So those will go up. There is no question about it. And as you can see from the clear blue sky above the pagoda, absolutely no cloud to threaten us today or indeed across the entire weekend. It's been absolutely lovely as we look at the car of Anthony DiCarlo, one of our 488 Challenge Evo racers, driving in the Shell category. There are 2 categories, Shell and Pirelli, and it's going to be the Shell drivers that you can see with the yellow strip across the top of the windscreen, and that, the Anthony DiCarlo car. And the 488 Challenge Evo car, a magnificent machine, that's for sure. And Tony Verlander, you've done some kilometers in the 488 Challenge car and in the 488 GT car as well. One of the most winning GT cars ever out of Maranello.
Yeah, a lot of history with this car model. Obviously, we had great success in the endurance racing. I had some great racing with Miguel Molina in the World Challenge. We did a couple of years with the Remo Ferri racing team, and yeah, Ferrari Challenge. I was part, actually doing some tire development. Over the years, they changed a few times a little bit the tire compound, so I did some running in Mugello, and these cars are fast. So over 700 horsepower, great handling, and a good, let's say, good format to start racing, good format to improve your skills. But of course, Ferrari has also that platform that if you have success, you can go even races like Daytona 24, let's say Le Mans 24 hours, Sebring, Road Atlanta, Petit Le Mans. So there's a lot of chances in the Ferrari family and Ferrari world to improve your driving and even participate in the biggest events of the endurance racing.
Thank you, Tony Verlander, Ferrari driver ambassador, who is with us across our broadcasts. Also with us is Shay Adam, who's down there in the pit lane. Good morning, Shay.
Good morning, gentlemen, and welcome to Championship Day. As far as the 488 is concerned, the season ends here. And we do still have one championship battle on our hands for the Shell class. Matt Dalton versus Girtas Venslovas. After yesterday's race, 8 points in the favor of Matt Dalton. He got out of the car. He was exhausted, not from the heat necessarily, but from the pressure of trying to stay ahead of his rival for the entirety of the race. Well, that job is made a lot easier if you get it done here this morning in qualifying. Yes, you get that bonus point for pole position, but gaining that track advantage of being ahead right from the start, that's the big key. So for this first qualifying session for the 488 Shell, keep an eye on both the car 459 and the 433 because both of those cars want the bonus point. And now we have a green flag out on the track. So let's find out who's going to be on pole. Little cooler this morning as well, the track conditions. How will that make an impact on these cars?
Thank you so much, Shay. You're absolutely right to pick up on that point yesterday because we saw that in the race, didn't we, Tony, that Matt Dalton, by dint of having track position, Girtas Venslovas, tried on a couple of occasions really hard, but trying to overtake here at Indianapolis is not so easy.
Yeah, Venslovas was able to put pressure almost the whole race distance, so 30 minutes of hard racing, and they crossed the line with the 100th of a second distance. We saw with the 488 is also a little bit of tire management. We saw some cars having a great pace, even pulling away, even 5-6 second gap, and then struggling a bit towards the end of the race. So it's a little bit of taking care of those race tires also. So qualifying, important is to post a good lap time, maybe save a little bit of tire, and then be ready for the race.
And as Tony indicates there, it's not just about driving the car as fast as you can. There are so many other things to consider as well as a racing driver. This tire management and ensuring that you have tire longevity for something that you may want to do earlier on. As you can see there, Gregory Hopkins just avoiding those two behind. Gregory Hopkins, of course, was victorious yesterday, and already we've got a car, unfortunately, that's made contact with the barriers. I believe that's Steve Blevitt. Looks like that's been round because the back end of the car was damaged. Yes, sure enough, it is the Ferrari of Denver driver Steve Blevitt, who into that chicane, presumably on cold tyres, I would have thought, Tony, maybe just lost the back end of the car. And there he's reversing the car away, and we have got a red flag. So the session has been momentarily stopped to allow that car to get back. And so there you can see the 448 car coming into the pit lane now. And yes, so that was somewhat unfortunate. That was Gomez that we saw coming into the pit lane. So Steve Blevitt having gone around, I suspect that's the reason for the red flag. So drivers that had gone out early on to try and get everything up to temperature, they would have only been on an installation lap. So there's kind of no harm done, is there, Tony?
Yeah, installation lap, or they were actually maybe on their first flying lap. Okay. But yes, 7.5 minutes remaining on the clock. There is still plenty of time, but now it always gets a little bit more exciting. So this is exit of turn, let's say 4 into chicane 5 and 6, which normally it's full throttle. So he probably had an issue already coming out of turn 4, car sideways, and was not able to control his race car. So yeah, good call from the race director to throw in the red flag straight away, so we can stop the clock and the drivers have plenty of time to go out there and post their lap times.
You can see Gary Ott in the all-red 488 Challenge car there going into the pit lane. I don't think this is going to be a very long stoppage. I think we'll get the session underway again pretty quickly because it looked like the Steve Blevitt car was in a position where it could make its way back to the pit lane. But of course, what this does do mentally is you've set yourself up for qualifying. You've kind of gone through the routine that you're going to try and deliver, and things happen, and subsequently you've got to reset almost, Tony, and get yourself back into the zone again to go out once the session resumes. As we can see the car of Vortigyan making its way back, and we've got a big number of cars in the Shell category of the 488 Challenge, and they're right at the head of the queue, if you like, for when they do get going again. The foreign cars, Italia driver Gregory Hopkins, who did such a good job yesterday. In fact, couldn't be any better, really, because it was P1. Brad Evans, Ferrari of San Antonio driver that you can see there in car number 411. The Defiance Ranch Racing livery on the side of the car. It's a stunning look, there's no question about that. And Henry Hummel, who I thought was particularly impressive, both in qualifying and in the race yesterday, new into racing this year. His best result, I think, has been a P4. He's only just been off the podium. I think he took a couple of P4s, I think. Finished the race P5 yesterday. Joel Rosenbacher, Ferrari of Lake Forest driver. And we're, I'm being told we're about to go back to green, and the red flag will be lifted, and we can get back onto our qualifying plan once again. There's Dan Magnuszewski in the 483, 488 Challenge car. The Shell drivers are the first to go out qualifying this morning, and a little bit cooler today than yesterday, so Shea tells us, and that might be advantageous for the early running of these cars. Gary Ott then in the 406 car, and Gary Ott then was certainly in the thick of it yesterday. Ended up finishing P7, but of course he started the campaign really well this year, taking his win at the Circuit of the Americas. And there is one of our championship contenders, Gerda Svenslovas from Continental Autosports. He's had a couple of wins and a number of podiums as well, and he's certainly chasing in terms of the championship. So Matt Dalton is the target driver, of course, and Gerda Svenslovas now gets going as presumably every driver and every car down to the end of the pit lane, and we just await the lights to go green again. So just a small interruption to the session, and we will be back qualifying with our 488 Challenge cars. So sure enough, they are back out on track, and let's see who can do what. One lap enough here, Tony, or two laps really to bring everything up to speed?
Yeah, normally if you would go a solid session, 10 minutes green flag, out lap, one lap time, and then I would say the next two are the most where you have the best performance. So you're still building up the tire temperature and the tire pressure. So now the game has changed a bit, so some of the drivers were already on track, so there is some heat on the tires. So I think potentially you could even, just in the end of the out lap, you could launch yourself for a flying lap. But again, another issue what we discussed yesterday is the traffic. Ideally you would have more space around you. We see even these four cars, I think they're a bit too close. So I think Hopkins is in a good place, but the other cars, you may struggle a little bit following another car so closely. And if another driver makes a mistake, it means that your lap is done as well. So it's a bit tricky to find always a good space.
Okay, thank you, Tony. As soon as the cars across the timing line, the clock will restart. Sure enough, it has. 7.5 minutes remain in the session as we get the greens, and we can go back to qualifying once again. We're live from Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Welcome. It is Ferrari Challenge 488. Shell and Pirelli drivers there. Qualifying is the first sessions to run. It's the Shell drivers first of all, by dint of the yellow strip across the top of the windscreen. When it comes to racing, they will be racing together, but of course classified separately. But for their qualifying session, they go out in their own category. And Dan Magnuszewski, we can see here, just picking up as he runs through the chicane there, the Ferrari of Fort Lauderdale driver of that wonderful 488 Challenge car. His best finish in the season, a P5. See if he can elevate his positions today. Joel Rosenbacher, Ferrari of Lake Forest, which incidentally is the same team that runs Henry Hummel that we were talking about just a few moments ago. A famed dealership, if you will, Ferrari of Lake Forest. So qualifying 2, 6.5 minutes remaining. Tony, for my money, I love the short, sharp qualifying sessions that we have with just 10 minutes on the clock. What, of course, it does mean for the drivers is, number one, A, they cannot be responsible for making a mistake because they've not got much time. B, they are always going to be in a position where the track is likely to be quite busy because every driver has the same amount of time on the clock.
Yeah, I find this format very successful. So we have 6 different qualifyings. Each driver, each category, they have their own time on track. Also for us, for spectators, we have a lot of action on track. Whoa, diving into turn 1. Yeah, a lot of action, almost like a racing style situation, like we would be already in the race too. So a lot of action on track, and also as a driver, instead of mixing different categories together and have even less pace on track, this anyway allows drivers to look for their clean lap, and format is great. Every 10 minutes we have a new category on track and a lot of action, small break, and then we go into racing. And this is great about the Ferrari racing days. We have action on the track all the time, and the rhythm of the day is very hectic. I think yesterday I did from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. so it was a long day. Unfortunately, I'm not paid by an hour, so
thought there was an overtime invoice coming in there from Tony Verlander. Now this is Matt Dalton. Now, of course, the championship chase is between Matt Dalton and Gerda Svenslovas. Matt Dalton is at the moment. He has a slender margin, but it's not enough. You know, he needs to qualify well. There is a point to be gained for pole position. So if he could increase that margin by a further point, then of course he's going to do that. But be under no illusion, Gerda Svenslovas would like to take this. Championship. I think it's fair to say, Tony, the competition that those two drivers have had at the sharp end of the championship all season long, it's been robust, it's been very, very lively at times. For you and for me as race fans, it's been brilliant to watch as well.
Yeah, it's been brilliant. We discussed yesterday the mental approach. So first you do the preseason testing, you don't really know where you're at. Then you can see that we can fight for the race wins. And then after wins, you start to think about the championship. And coming into this weekend, we interviewed Dalton. He was saying like that 7-point lead, that's a narrow margin. And we could see yesterday that the two championship contenders were all 30 minutes next to each other. Yes. A lot of pressure and just crossing the line with the smallest margin ever. So great racing, but a lot of pressure. A lot of mental strength needed also today.
I agree with you. As we speak, Gregory Hopkins has set the fastest lap. He, of course, was victorious yesterday. Enoch Hurd, who had a very good race yesterday as well, is P2 in qualifying. Then it's Gary Ott. Then we see Gerda Svenslovas. We're yet to really see a meaningful time come from Matt Dalton, but we will once he crosses the timing line. In the meantime, the Foreign Cars Italia driver Gregory Hopkins continues on his way. Thus far, by a margin of a tenth and a third, he would be collecting the Rotiform pole position award if everything stayed this way right now. He does improve a bit, but so too does Gary Ott, who goes up to P2. Then it's Enoch Hurd, and they both drop Gerda Svenslovas down to P4. And there is Gerda Svenslovas driving the 459 car for Continental Autosports. He's been a hugely competitive competitor in the Ferrari Challenge, and Matt Dalton at the moment, who set his first timed lap, he's down there in P10, so work to do. Gerda Svenslovas is very nearly a second off the pace set by Gregory Hopkins, though. To be fair, Gerdas is going to have to dig deep, I think, as well.
Yeah, and he was also struggling in the beginning of the race yesterday, and then his performance improved in the second half of the race, and that's where he was able to put pressure on the championship leader Dalton. And it's exciting to see how it works from here. Dalton really needs to improve his 10th place, which is not ideal, and Svenslovas P4, and he would also want more. So we have a little bit less than 2 minutes on the clock, and they have a couple of laps still available, and let's see what they can, if they can improve.
You made mention yesterday, and you weren't giving away any secrets, that the reason probably that Gerdas came good in the second half of the race is because you start the race perhaps with low pressures in the tyres, knowing that those pressures are going to increase with the heat cycles that go through the tyres, and therefore the car comes good in the second half of the race. And not every driver chooses the same strategy, do they, Tony?
Yeah, it's true. There is another overtaking maneuver into
like
turn
race,
one,
yeah,
during qualifying. So I would say there are three main things when you consider about the race. One thing is the driver's driving style. The next thing is how you set up your race car. Teams and drivers, they have various options how to go, a little bit more aggressive or a little bit more conservative regarding the tires. And then obviously the third main thing is the tire pressures, like you mentioned. So all these things combined together, there can be quite similar pace in the beginning of the race, huge difference last 2 laps of the race, just who has more tires and more performance left.
Yes, and the qualifying session is just 10 minutes long. Of course, the race 30 minutes long, so the longevity that you have in the rubber can play a huge advantage come the second half of the race, as Gerda Svenslovas remains P4 then, and Matt Dalton has improved, but he's only improved to P6 with a time of 1:28.426. So the fastest time, 1:27.620, and the top three, Gregory Hopkins, Gary Ott, Joel Rosenbacher. There's less than 3/10 between the top three, so it's uber competitive out there as we watch the number 400 car of Anthony DiCarlo. And here then is Gerda Svenslovas. Now, he's not going to be able to do another lap after this one, Tony, because the clock will have counted down to 0. So this is Gerda Svenslovas' last lap. Is he going to be able to improve on his P4 position? The clock is counting down. The checkered flag is out on the session. This is Gerda Svenslovas' last opportunity to improve his lap time as he runs toward crossing the beam then. It was P4 for Gerda Svenslovas, and it stays P4. So we know that he's going to be on the second row. Meantime, here comes Matt Dalton. His previous time, a 1:28.426, gave him 6th. And as he heads to break the timing beam now, he stays P6, so psychologically, Gerdas will feel good about the fact that he will be starting ahead of his championship rival and leader of the championship, as Gary Ott has posted a 1:27.458, which has taken the pole position away from this man, Gregory Hopkins, who is able to do another lap. Is he going to be able to retake that P1 position in qualifying? Bear in mind, the additional point up for grabs for your qualifying finish if you are pole. And Gregory Hopkins, who's led this session really from the off for Foreign Cars Italia, has seen that P1 go away. His target time of 1:27.458, and he does it by taking 2.5 tenths out of the Gary Ott time, a 1:27.201. So Gregory Hopkins as dominant today as he was yesterday. He's got everything nailed in this car, Tony.
Yeah, great performance on the last lap, taking back his pole position. On the picture we see 433, so Dalton's car. Again, the car is quite alive in the last turn. Coming out of 14, he had a little sideways move and using the track all the way to the wall, coming back to the oval or the main straight. We had the same thing in the race where he was struggling with the rear balance, and quite interesting to see how his tires got a hold in the race, and the two championship leaders starts row 2 and 3 and next to each other, so that's quite interesting.
Yes, the scene is set for what will be a showdown as we watch the 443 car of Ed Vortigam then, and very much looking forward to the race to come from our Shell drivers then in the 488 challenge. The Pirelli drivers from the same category will be out shortly for their qualifying. Of course, it's been a dominant show all season long from Massimo Perina, who his P1 in the championship was never ever likely to be threatened. However, he was threatened at the last round at Sonoma, where he actually had a win taken away from him by the rapid Titus Sherlock, who he's not here this weekend, but Massimo Perina back on winning ways yesterday. Well done, Gregory Hopkins, P1 in qualifying ahead of Gary Ott, Joel Rosenbacher. Then it was Gerda Svenslovas, P2 in the championship. Enoch Hurd, P5. Matthew Dalton, P1 in the championship. He's starting behind Gerda Svenslovas. Then it's Dan Magnuszewski and Brad Evans. They're ahead of Kevin Orsini, Henry Hummel, Louis Peruskia, Ed Vortigyan, Anthony DiCarlo, Michael Merrithew, and Jeffrey Keel then occupy the next positions through to 15. With no time set by Bernard Gomez and Steve Blevett, of course, we saw going around, and therefore a red flag in the early part of our Shell session, as we saw all those 15 cars out there for their qualifying. We have track space is not going to be an issue for our Pirelli drivers in the 488 challenge, because there are but 4 of those that will be out there on track for their qualifying now. This young man was hugely impressive yesterday as he gets his qualifying underway right now, and heading around the track. Just installing right now Logan Broughton, who, yes, did a fine job and took a yet another podium yesterday. I think his 3rd podium. The win has eluded Logan Broughton. And the reason the win has eluded Logan is the fact that Massimo Perena has just been so dominant this year.
Yeah, Perena's performance also yesterday. He won the race, the 30-minute race, with over 15. I think it was around 17-second gap. So it really means that he has an amazing pace in qualifying, but also in the race. So there's no weak points on this driver. We can see on the images right now. So all the time I've seen him on the track, he's been very dominant, and now he's actually coming to the pits right now.
He is. We'll find out why in just a moment. In the meantime, let's go and celebrate with Gregory Hopkins. It's a Rotiform Pole Position Award, and Shay will be there in just a moment. As we can see now, you're absolutely right, with Massimo Perena coming into the pit lane and running quite wide. There is the 311 car of Jason McCarthy. Now, Jason, of course, double duties this weekend, as he's done often in the course of this season, by racing not only in the 488 Pirelli Challenge, but also racing in the 296 Ferrari Challenge as well. So double duty for Jason McCarthy. He is out there, and he's about to get his qualifying underway. Then just installing the car along the back straight behind the paddock here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway is Jason McCarthy, who has been something of a bridesmaid to Massimo Perena during the course of this season. So once again, the Foreign Cars Italia driver that's put it on pole position for the Shell drivers is Gregory Hopkins with Shay Adam now.
And Gregory, very different conditions for qualifying today, a lot cooler out in the air. How did that affect your tire warm-up and your prep to get this pole?
It took a little bit longer to warm up. Luckily, we did have that red flag that didn't hurt us this time, but we were able to use that to get a little bit of extra heat in the tires.
What did you learn from yesterday's race win that allowed you to get out there and get on it so much quicker?
Just stay ahead of everybody else.
Good luck in the race today.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's not a bad strategy. Stay ahead of everybody else. Great to hear from Gregory Hopkins. Then here is Logan Broughton, who's the fastest of our Pirelli 488 Challenge drivers at the moment for Ferrari of Lake Forest. It's 1:28.282. Please expect that to come down, in my opinion. So you can see he's now being followed by Massimo Perena. So Massimo did come back into the pit lane. Whatever it was, they got him out again very quickly, Tony.
Yeah, that's a good thing. So we see these 4 cars in the Pirelli category on track right now, still, let's say, building up the tire pressures, improving their lap times. We've not yet seen their best performance. We saw McCarthy struggling a bit a lap ago into turn 1, going a really wide line. McCarthy is a very aggressive driver behind the wheel,
yes.
Hard breaker. Seems like if there is a restart or the actual race start, he's always the one looking for outside, inside line, and really taking, let's say, risks, but in the right way. And he's a driver that is very impressive to see on track. Again, a wide line into turn 12. So he's really trying to push hard this morning, but maybe a little bit of 10% off would maybe be a half a second less on the lap time.
Logan Broughton has gone quickest with a 1:26.488. I mean, you describe Jason McCarthy perfectly, because from our point of view, he just delivers entertainment, doesn't he? As he rubs the concrete wall, he'll go for another lap now and try and improve on his previous time. And it was into the one.
Again, he ran wide into turn 1.
Massimo Perena then at the moment is not posted a lap time for us, but he will do on this occasion. We run the clock on him now, and Massimo Perena has got such a collection of Rotiform Pole Position Awards. He's really maxed out his haul this year in terms of points and awards, and Massimo pushing very hard now, because there is only 4.5 minutes of qualifying remaining. Now, Tony, we did see him come into the pit lane. Can you give us any indication of what would be a likely reason for that? Because with such a short time frame for qualifying, he wouldn't choose to come in.
Yeah, it didn't look like a planned thing. I think it was something wrong with the car, either the tire pressures or something that he felt on the outlap,
yes.
and he was not able to push for lap time, and he chose to come in. It's good to see him back on track. On this lap, he's really going for it hard. We see several times on this lap that the car is sideways, probably no TC on his settings, so he's really using the max out from his car, and yeah, a good first lap for him.
yeah, whatever issues he had or is experiencing, it's not hampering him. A 1:26.161. 2 drivers into the 26s. Massimo Perina, who is 3 1/4 tenths quicker than Logan Broughton, who sat at the top of the timing chart. You can see the order on the left-hand side of your screen. It is Perina from Broughton, from McCarthy, from Joe Sposato for Ferrari Beverly Hills, who is 4th fastest at the moment in our Pirelli drivers. Now, Jason McCarthy, he pushes and pushes really, really hard. Tony, this is an example of just how hard he pushes. Jason McCarthy then giving it everything he can, and sometimes, as you say, just giving it a little bit too much, perhaps.
Yeah, we've seen him going over the limit for the last 2-3 laps, and maybe even the car is not, seems like the braking is not right there. A driver of his talent and his skills doing this kind of, let's say, mistakes, driver errors for 2-3 laps in a row, for me is telling me that he probably has some sort of an issue and he's not able to stop the car in distance that he's used to. So he needs to adapt a little bit what he has right now, and that's why he's struggling.
Here's Logan Broughton trying to respond to Massimo Perina then, and he is about 3 tenths down on Massimo Perina, who now crosses the timing line and goes into the 25s, Tony. So whatever issue Massimo had initially, he's either driven through it, or the team of Ferrari of Seattle have sorted it very, very quickly, because he is into the 25s. Best lap, a 1:25.585, the quickest time that we have seen so far today, with just under 2 minutes remaining in this qualifying session.
Yeah, what is beautiful to see in Perina's driving is you can see that the car is alive. It's moving quite a lot in braking when he's requesting the sharp turns on the chicanes, but he does it in the right way. The car is all the time in the optimum racing line, and visually it looks fast, and it's beautiful to see this young man fighting with his 488 challenge.
This is Joe Sposato, who is P4 at the moment, the Ferrari Beverly Hills driver. And is this going to be an improvement from Joe Sposato? You bet it is going to be, but is it going to be enough to send him up the order? Well, at the moment he stays P4, so it is Perina from Broughton, from McCarthy, from Sposato, with exactly 60 seconds, as near as makes no difference, remaining on our clock for the qualifying session. And Logan Broughton feels that he's delivered the very best he can, and what he's decided to do is to protect the tyres, because the tyres that they qualify on are the tyres that they will be racing on. So he's decided, I'm not going to do another couple of laps, I'm going to park the car.
Yeah, and also maybe the fight for the pole position was alive until the gap was 3 tenths, but when he went up to almost 9 tenths,
no point.
He said we better park the car and have another go in the race.
Here is Jason McCarthy then, who always gives 100%, sometimes a bit more than that, but he's decided that P3 is the very best that he's going to be able to do today. 1.5 seconds off the pace, which is a big gap for, as you say, someone of Jason McCarthy's talent. We know that, as Joe Sposato remains out there. So Massimo Perina then with a 1:25.585. That was a huge lap, and he delivered that. So very, very confident. What I really like about Massimo, and what attracts his driving style to us, is he's very smooth. He's super cool and calm, and he's a nice, humble young man, and quite clearly has got talent oozing from his pores.
Yeah, and also what has impressed me is different conditions. So we've seen qualifying sessions where the drivers have been out there on slick tires and the track is still damp. He's been mastering those situations perfectly. Restarts after safety car. So I haven't really seen a weak point in his driving. So it's been a dominant season for him, and it's like we already anticipated. Whatever he does in the future is very interesting to see how his driving skills and performance develops from here, and maybe if he has a little bit more competition around him, how he reacts to these situations. So the next steps in his career. I know you mentioned yesterday the school. It's very important that he keeps going to the school, but also for his racing, it's very interesting to see the next steps he will do.
He's got a very good team around him that are driving him and, of course, engineering him and looking after him and nurturing him. And he always pays due credit to that as well. And he says, you know, without those people behind me, would I be able to deliver what I deliver on track? I don't think so.
Yeah, but I think it also works in both ways. I think Massimo, with his driving, he's also pushing the team forward. And with his consistent, strong performance, the team can fine-tune the car and they make progress all the time. So I think it works both ways.
Yeah, fair point, Tony. Well made. Massimo Perina then, P1, 125.585 ahead of Logan Broughton, Jason McCarthy and Joe Sposado. They are our 4.488 Pirelli drivers and how they finished in qualifying. So the short, sharp nature of our qualifying sessions continue. Up next, in fact, we're into the session already. Our Shell Am drivers are going to be out there, and this is Massimo then removing his crash helmet, his hands device, and of course his fireproof balaclava as well. So the Shell Am drivers, who are always entertaining, making their way out on track right now. We'll see who will do what in their qualifying session as we watch these cars making their way out onto the track for the first time of asking. This is Melissa Kozira. And Massimo Perina then did it all in the 488 Pirellis. Once again, it's yet another Rotiform pole position award, Shay.
It's a perfect season as far as Massimo's concerned for qualifying. 8 of these that were up for grabs, 8 of them that went to you. What does it mean to you to not only clinch the championship, but now to have this pole and know that you've done everything you could?
It means just that little bit more. I mean, the team has so much experience for obviously out on MG1 with this 488 chassis. It just means that much more to, I think, deliver what is perfect for the pole positions.
Now, today's qualifying wasn't straightforward, though. You went out and you came back in. What was the issue?
We had a bit of an error light in trying to get the tires hot, spun them up, and it threw an error on the dash. So we had to come in, cycle the car, and that cleared it all, and we were good to go.
Didn't rattle you at all, though.
Nope, it actually kind of put a little giddy up in it.
Well, can't wait to see what you do in the future. Good luck in the race a little bit later today.
Thank you so much.
It gave him a little giddy up. Tony, that reinforced what we thought, in that there was just an error light came on. He responded to that, brought the car in, and, you know, rather than that upsetting his rhythm, it actually incentivized him still further because he knew he'd got less time on the clock, and he went out and delivered.
Yeah, but that's also a good thing. Drivers sometimes in qualifying, they just focus on their driving and they don't really see the dash of the car or the indications that the car is giving. And it's good to see that this young man was spot on and bringing the car in, fixed, double checked whatever there was an issue, and then was back on track.
Wonderful. Okay, here we can see Melissa Kozira and Jerry Walters. Jerry had a really unfortunate time in the race yesterday. Melissa Kozira then, who has had a wonderful past season in the challenge, driving this 296 car in the Shell Am category we're right on board with right now. And this daunting, if I may say, back straight, because you carry so much speed, Tony, before, I assume, a really heavy braking zone for the left-hander.
Yeah, this is a tricky place. I've been on track with the 296 GT3 and feels like the braking into 7 is basically, there is a little runoff area, but there's a wall of tires. So you coming full speed into this braking point and everything needs to work perfectly every time. So it's one of the braking areas where I personally need to improve my driving. There's a little disconnection on the track. There's a little bump which upsets the ABS and the braking of the car. So drivers need to be aware of this with the pressure they're giving into the brake pedal and also controlling the steering wheel, because that pump might upset little bit the ABS and the balance of the car into the braking.
I find it amazing to listen to Tony Verlander, one of the most successful racing drivers I've ever met, saying that's where I need to improve. And actually, Tony, that is the case, isn't it? You know, you can win as many races as you like. There's always an area of improvement. There's always margins that you can be better on.
Yeah, but Dave, I'm 44 years old. I'm into club racing. I've gone backwards for several years now. So
no, I won't have that. I won't have that. So we're watching the Shell cars out there. Gabe Harib, who had a good time of it yesterday, taking a P2. And Gabe Harib then driving for the Ferrari of Atlanta squad. He's really nice guy and did a fine job in the race yesterday. It was a very entertaining race, the Shell Am race, as we ride on board right now. I think this is Jerry Walters that we're on board with.
He just ran a little bit wide. She just ran a little bit wide into turn 1 and the turn 2. She had to wait to get back on throttle. you can see that she's trying really hard, hitting those apex inside curves, and you can hit the south inside the car.
With apologies to Roger Monteforte, I got it wrong. It's Roger Monteforte that we were on board with. Now, Roger yesterday, he was not able to take it where I expected him. You know, he was P3, which is no bad result at all for Roger Monteforte, but he was not really able to challenge for the win. Will he be able to do that today? Well, at the moment, he's doing a good job in qualifying. He is P2. We've reached the halfway stage in this qualifying session for our Trofeo Pirelli Am drivers, and the session is being led by David Williams. So David Williams is quickest with a 1:29.437. But actually, make that Roy Carroll right now. Roy Carroll goes to the top. Actually now, make that Jerry Walters. Make that Steve Check. Make that Melissa Kozira. It's changing all the time right now because basically the cars and the drivers, they've got everything up to speed, everything up to temperature. Now is when those lap times come tumbling down, Tony.
Yeah, it is true. It is true. So with 296, we can see this trend that it takes almost a half session when the balance is there and the tire temps are up and the grip level is high. So drivers taking a cautious approach to the first laps and then increasing their rhythm. And when the car and the tires are ready, they're really going for it. And what's been beautiful to see, obviously great tracks in the calendar also this year, but also the variation of the performance. If you are not in the top of your performance, it doesn't mean that you're a championship leader and you won't pole. You might be P10, P7, P8. So the competition is very tight and you need to do a good, very patient work with your team each weekend. If you jump ahead, like we won the last race, so we have an easy weekend, that's normally bites you because you always need to focus on the same things.
Thanks, Tony. Roy Carroll, who was momentarily P1, now finds himself P7. That's how competitive it is as he comes off the final turn. Gets quite close to the concrete wall, but not so close as it impacts him, and he does put in a time of 1:26.843, so he usurps the car that he's right behind him, Jerry Walters, as now Gabe Rib goes to the top with a 1:26.567, so it's getting very, very close. A couple of tenths between the drivers, but well done to the Ferrari of Atlanta driver, Gabe Rib, with a best lap of a 1:26.567. That sees him at the top of the chart, but that is now bettered by Roger Monteforte, who's dug deep, and he's found 8 tenths, which is a huge margin relatively. He delivered a 1:25.765. Well done, Roger Monteforte. Ferrari of Central New Jersey. He is currently P1 with just under 3 minutes remaining.
Yeah, Monteforte has been on his own the whole session. So we see several cars being close to each other, and Monteforte has chosen to find that gap, and being on his own, he has developed his speed step by step, and now leading the session.
We're watching Jeffrey Nunberg, Ferrari of Central New Jersey. I had the privilege of sitting with Jeffrey at dinner on Friday night, and fascinating guy to talk to, and a really, really great racing driver as well, and he's P3 at the moment. Roy Carroll is P4. Now, Roy Carroll saw his son-in-law just a few moments ago set pole position in the 488 Shell drivers. He wants to replicate that and assume head honcho in terms of the performance and match his son-in-law. It's P2 at the moment. He's about 3 tenths. He's got to find 3 tenths. Now, to me, it sounds really easy. You've got to find 3 tenths. Okay, you just take a little bit more here, or you just take a little bit more there. It's not so easy. I mean, 3 tenths actually is a huge margin that you've got to try and find when you're already giving everything that you possibly can, Tony.
Yeah, it's a car, driver, together with those tires. So sometimes you just keep doing the same rhythm for 2-3 laps, and suddenly you get a little bit more performance from the tires. That predicted lap time after the first sequence of corners, when you are in the back straight towards turn 7, quick look on the dash, I'm -1 tenth, 2 tenths.
Wow.
So that gives you the confidence that this lap is going to be the one, and then driver normally gives even more with his driving. So everything is still possible in this qualifying.
1 minute and a quarter remains. Roger Monteforte leading Roy Carroll, leading Gabe Hureb, leading Jeffrey Nunberg. They are the top 4. Here's Jerry Walters, currently P8. She's on a hot lap now. You will recall earlier on in the session, she was P1. She would like to be back there again. Had a really, really unfortunate race through no fault of hers yesterday. So Jerry Walters pushing very, very hard and wants to right the wrongs of yesterday today, and the first opportunity to do that is in this qualifying session, and giving herself best possible starting position. One that's a lower one than P8 would be brilliant, as Roy Carroll goes P1 and Jerry Walters improves a place to P7. So Roy Carroll has taken 2.5 tenths out of the Roger Monteforte time and a 1:25.509 with 30 seconds remaining in qualifying sees this man, the Foreign Cars Italia driver who I was chatting to at Nürburgring in Germany last weekend. He's on his medal.
Yeah, and he heard you. You said you need to take off 3 tenths. He did even a little bit more, so
yeah,
great job.
Yes, well done, Roy Carroll. Here's Roger Monteforte then. 1:25.765 is his best lap time. The checkered flag is out now. Any driver that is on a lap can complete the lap, but any driver that crosses the timing line now, that's it. Your session is done, dusted, and your starting position is guaranteed for the race to come a little bit later. Helen Chu, then the Ferrari of San Diego driver with a best lap time of 1:31.9. It's great to have Helen in the Ferrari Challenge, and been a really creditable performance all season long from Helen Chu, and there you can see the checkered flag flying. At the moment, it's Carroll from Monteforte, from Nunberg, from Czech, from Gabe Rib, from Melissa Kozira. Here is Roger Monteforte, who has bailed now and has felt that P2 is the best that he can do. Roger Monteforte then, Ferrari of Central New Jersey. Beg your pardon, perhaps he is still going for it here. I rather thought that he'd bailed that lap, but no, he's going to complete it, and he is on a mission. Can he take that 1:25.509 and throw it away and do a lap time that's even quicker than that? That would give him the Rotiform Pole Position Award. Roy Carroll has done everything he can do. Roger Monteforte then, is he going to glance the wall? Well, he certainly gets very, very close to it. And is he going to be able to take that P1 away? No. It remains with Roy Carroll. Roger Monteforte has to settle for P2. Then Jeff Nunberg and Steve Czech. That was quite an exciting quali session, Tony.
Yeah, it takes 3 to 5 minutes before everything gets really heated, and then once it started going, the classification was changing every lap, and yeah, Carroll with the Foreign Cars Italia managed to get the pole position with a great fight with Monteforte. Nürnberg, great qualifying. He had a spin in yesterday's race. I think he was in a good place yesterday, but the unfortunate spin took out a good result, so he's in a great starting point for today's race.
Yes, our Shell Am drivers with the familiar black strip across the top of the windscreen have delivered their qualifying session. David Williams, the Ferrari of Central Florida driver, who you may recall was right at the top of the chart at one point in the qualifying. His best lap, a 1:27.730, means P10. And when you look at how close it is, I mean, there's just 2.5 tenths between P1 and P2. In fact, the top 5 drivers are covered by merely a second. So this Shell Am category of the Ferrari Challenge with this 296 Challenge car is uber competitive.
Yeah, this is great to see. We want tight competition, and also the fact that we have almost a full season behind us. So the setup of the car, handling of the car, and many kilometers, many miles, many laps under belt for the drivers. So they've improved their skills. Also the fact that there's a continuous push from the coaches' side, yes, on the drivers, saying that you need to do this, you need to do that, and we need to improve. Even we are P1, we are not happy yet because you could have done a low 25. So okay, next time we need to go harder. So there is a interesting factor, and the relationship between the driver and the coach, how it's very close, and it improves the driver's skills.
Thank you, Tony. Let's take a look at the confirmed results then as we look at the Roy Carroll car and here the classification. With Roy Carroll, a 1:25.509. Well done, Roy. Roger Monteforte, P2, then Jeff Nunberg, P3. Then it was Steve Czech, Gabe Rib, Jerry Walters, Melissa Kozira, Brian Waltersdorf, then occupying the top 8 positions ahead of Dana Goodwin, David Williams, Helen Chu, and no time set by Neil Langberg. So our qualifying done for our Shell Am drivers. Up next, it will be the Shell drivers that will be out on track. And sure enough, there is Bruce Cleveland. We can see immediately taking to the track very, very early on. Finished P4 yesterday. Was on the podium, though, because he was the best of the gentleman drivers and did a very good job. So Bruce Cleveland then, the Ferrari of Silicon Valley driver, who's still nursing some fairly severe bruising from an off earlier on in the season, but uber competitive, wants to be out there, wants to be racing. And I spoke to him yesterday, and well done, Bruce Cleveland, for taking the P4 yesterday, and then also the gentleman's podium as well. You can see him there warming up his tyres and actually locking them up, and there you can see the 132 car of Jan Bernier, and Jan, who has had I think 3 wins this season, if I'm calculating correctly. He was certainly on the podium yesterday, but P2. But for our Shell Am drivers, Roy Carroll once again nailed qualifying today. He's with Shay.
He did nail qualifying yesterday, and Roy, I have to say one of my favorite moments of the day yesterday was seeing you and your son-in-law, each with the laurels around your neck, walking over to the podium. First, tell us a little bit about the experience of being up on the Indy podium with your family.
Again, such an iconic track, and to be here with family. I mean, not just my son-in-law, but my daughter's running club. I got another daughter is expected in January. She'd be here probably running in the same class I am. And my wife is going to school, so next year we hope to have 4 or 5 cars here and a complete family affair.
I love it. That's what this is all about. Now, qualifying this morning, one job to do, a little bit more pressure, different track conditions. How did you adapt?
Well, the car in turn 1 had a little bit of instability there, and so I'm down a couple hundredths there from where I was yesterday, but I'm sure the team will get it fixed. But all in all, the team has a car in great shape. It's very predictable except turn 1. And we'll get that looked at for the end of the day.
You got the other 13 figured out. It's not a worry.
Thank you.
Well done, Roy Carroll. Thank you, Shay. There who's saying it's almost exactly what you said. You know, you could always find a little bit more, and he says a little bit instability there. But wow, what a prospect for next season. Maybe 4 or 5 members of the same family all competing in a Ferrari Challenge weekend. And that, I guess, is the essence of the Ferrari Challenge, Tony, isn't it?
Yeah, that is what a great approach. I mean, these cars are fast, but they give just an amazing feeling when you get the talent and your driving skill into a high enough level so you can really perform with these cars. And that is a great feeling. Then step by step from Club Challenge or our Corso Pilota events, you can build up the confidence, have no pressure track events where Ferrari really guides you in the right lane with your driving, how to behave on track. Some teaching also with the basic rules. There is some rules regarding racing, what you need to respect with the other drivers, and not know when the marshals are signaling and all that stuff. So Ferrari has a great platform to create drivers and give huge experience for our clients.
You're absolutely right, Tony, and we should make mention of the fact, you know, these Corso Pilota that is an opportunity for you to do. I mean, the coaches that you're working with, these are championship winning drivers, aren't they? You know, they know their stuff.
Yeah, there's so much experience. I mean, there's even drivers from the world of rally. There's drivers obviously with the huge track experience. I've been with Corso Pilota in Chile, so South America. I've been in North America. I've been in the Italian Alps. I've been in Fiorano. I've been in Vallelunga. So those names and tracks and places just show that Ferrari is taking the experience around the world, and you can just have great stuff with the Ferrari brand. And I'm actually involved with the Ferrari on Ice event next March in Finland, in Lapland in Finland. So that's something very special. Then I have to dedicate a little bit of time towards the end of the year to get everything sorted. Maybe I even book you a hotel room, Dave, so you can see some reindeer and the Santa Claus.
Oh, thank you, Tony. Ray Acosta is currently the fastest of our Shell drivers as well, the Shell qualifying. Here comes Jan Bernier from Ferrari of Seattle. Eric Marston has gone 2nd fastest. Bruce Cleveland is 3rd fastest. Now, Ray Acosta yesterday had the perfect day because he took pole position, then very cool, calm and collected, just converted that into the race lead and stayed with the lead right until the end of the race. So it was a perfect day for Ray Acosta yesterday. Pole position and the race win. What, as a racing driver, does that do for your confidence coming into race day 2? Surely it must be worth something.
Yeah, it's a huge boost when you improve continuously. And as we see with Ray Acosta, he does a lot of driving. So he's over in Europe. He does the championship here in North America, always with the same crew, same team, same coach. So you always keep going and starting from the same approach every weekend. And he has had the pace, but there was few mistakes. I think he had a quite big off, at the beginning of the season in Austin, in Coda, and then the team had to rebuild the car, and then since then he had ups and downs, but yesterday was just pure dominance. This driver here, you remember Eric came to the pits at the start of the race. Do you know what it was?
Go on.
Slow puncture. So he had to change
I predicted that.
Yeah,
didn't I?
it was a puncture on the tire, and he
Wow.
had to change the tire, and luckily team got him back on track, and very important points for that P8.
Yeah, P8, yes.
Yeah, he finished the race. So also a good thing to spot from Eric is the fact that he came in early and the team was able to react.
I mean, once they changed that and he was back out again,
yeah,
he was like a demon, wasn't he?
He was
absolutely cutting through everyone. So, thank you for sharing that with us. I knew you'd find out. Like a Rottweiler when you get going on you in terms of finding out information. Well done. Eric Marston then is currently P1, and he's the only, he's only done it by 9/100ths over Ray Acosta. So it's Eric Marston for Ray Acosta. Rob McWilliams, Ferrari of Washington driver, is third fastest. Then it's Mitchell Green. Then it is Chuck Whittle, who we've just seen cross the line. He's P5, and they're ahead of Bruce Cleveland. Then it's Spearman, Jan Bernier and John Viscup and Osvaldo Gallo. They occupy the top 10 places at the moment. You can see on the left-hand side of your screen as here comes Ray Acosta to try and respond to that 1:24.692 from Eric Marston as he breaks the timing beam now. He does respond by taking very nearly 2/10 out of the Eric Marston time. Game on here with 2.5 minutes remaining.
And Eric is back on top with 500s.
Okay. So this man did do it by 5/100ths. So he's gone P1 now. And so it's Eric Marston, Ray Acosta. What a battle they're having in this qualifying session. This is awesome to watch. Eric Marston, of course, in a very, very good position in the Drivers' Championship, and nothing is secured or assured yet. So you've got to fight for every point that you can.
Yeah, and also a very interesting driver is Eric Marston. So he has built his career and developed his skills step by step. His dream is to be one day in endurance racing in the races like 24 Hours of Le Mans, Daytona 24. So he has this year really showed a big step in his performance, also consistency. So each race weekend he is on the top of the charts, posting the fastest lap times, and he seems to be really chilled outside the race car, also quite calm inside the race car. So his performance has been great to see him progress. And when we saw him for the first time in the beginning of the year with the 296 challenge, he just had a different performance that we were used to, and that has been great to watch.
So as we see John Fisk up there across the line, Ray Acosta, they're trading these places. Here comes Eric Marston right now. Is he going to usurp Ray Acosta? Well, he didn't on this occasion. So Ray Acosta stays P1 with a 1:24.317. He took a 10th and a 3rd out of Eric Marston's time, and we have got Eric Marston now in our camera lens, and this is his last lap, Tony, because there's only 30 seconds left in the qualifying time, so Eric has got to deliver now.
And he has some traffic ahead of him, so in this occasion, driver, if he feels he still has performance, you just need to go for it and just hope that the driver, if he catches in front of him, gives him space, and these are very critical places. It's actually Ray Acosta ahead of him, so hopefully no dirty games on this part of qualifying, and everything gets...
I think Eric has slowed.
Yeah, look very nicely
look at
done.
that.
Very
That is proper driving, isn't it? And you know, so a real battle between Eric Marston and Ray Acosta. So yes, Ray had slowed, but Eric had also slowed,
yes,
and
exactly.
I thought he'd slowed when we saw him at the previous turn. So he has had to settle for P2. It's another P1 for Ray Acosta. Mitchell Green went with P3, then Robert McWilliams P4. Here's Bruce Cleveland. He's still on a lap, and he's currently P9, so we'll see if he improves. Here's Green then, crossing the timing line, 3rd fastest, stays 3rd fastest. So our Shell qualifying is complete. The session is over, but any driver that is still on a lap can have that lap count, of course. But it was really, really exciting and really, really tight between Ray Acosta and Eric Marston. A 10th and a bit between them. Here's Jan Bernier. He certainly needs to see an improvement relative to where he is, but he does improve one place. But what we do know about Jan Bernier is that in the race, by Jiminy, he can do some overtaking, and he's going to have to.
Yeah, but we see some of the drivers that they can't just perform on top in qualifying, and then they're just great in overtaking, start of the race, and in many occasions we see drivers that are able to improve their position in the race by their skills and also the rhythm. Qualifying is one thing, racing has just different rhythm into it, the lap times are different, you just need to be consistent, and here we see our poleman.
And that's his driver coach there, Marco Bononomi, who's offering his congratulations, and doubtless Marco's words of wisdom and advice to Ray Acosta have worked wonders. So well done, Ray. He has done it again. What a weekend he is having here at Indianapolis.
Not even a sweat on Ray Acosta.
He takes it very seriously, doesn't he?
Very fit, very fit.
Here comes the confirmation of the results then. Ray Acosta, P1, ahead of Eric Marston. Then it was Mitchell Green, P3, well done. Rob McWilliams, P4, then Fabian Spearman, P5. Chuck Whittle, P6, then it was John Viscup and Osvaldo Gallo. They occupied the top 8 positions ahead of Jan Bernier, Bruce Cleveland, Mike Luley, Lisa Clark, and no time set by Brent Holden. So those the results from our Shell qualifying for the race to come. 30 minutes of race action to come from the Shell drivers a little bit later on today. And Ray Acosta is with Shea Adam now.
Ray, another day, another pole position. You had to work a little bit harder for it today, though. Eric Marston was keeping you honest. Was the team affronting you of all that information?
Yes, yeah, they did. Actually, they just said, we need one more 1/10, and so I gave them more than that. I mean, I pushed harder. Really was at the limit, you know, so it was good. It's good. I'm glad Eric is keeping up there, you know. He's keeping me on my toes, which is good.
Where were you able to find that little bit more speed around the track?
Braking later into 7 and braking later into the right off the bank. Yeah, I was able to get it.
Are you able to give any of this insight to your son, who's having his first weekend on the track too?
I don't know. That's up to him. You know, he wants to take me for a hot lap later on, so we'll see about that. So yeah, hopefully he'll do well in the track attack. So, all right.
We'll keep our eyes on him. But for now, congratulations, another pole award.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Okay.
Rotiform pole position award to Ray Acosta, who I have to say yesterday, as he came off the podium, Tony, he was very lovely, and he removed his laurel wreath and put it over me.
That was nice.
I've never won anything, Tony, and I'm not likely to, so thank you, Ray. Right, this is, I mean, from the Ferrari Classic A, you can see some of the display that's here at Indianapolis. It's an immersive weekend, a Ferrari Challenge weekend, isn't it?
Yeah, this is, let's say, the Ferrari racing days, racing weekend. It's just great things to see. You see our newest models for street cars. You see the history. Occasionally we see the FXX cars, the F1 cars on track. This weekend we have the Club GT, we have the Club Challenge. So there is a lot of things to see. We had a great dinner on Friday, and Louis Colmage and his staff, they just getting everything done perfect, and each time there is something special. So it's just great experience. And also the tracks in North America are really special. We've been to Laguna Seca, we've been to Circuit of the Americas, so, and all over the country. So this is something really, really special, and we have great, beautiful, fast cars on track. Our guests, our clients are enjoying it, and we have good time in the evening, so it's perfect weekend. Perfect weekend.
Right, it's what it's all about. Here come our Pirelli Am drivers out there on track as we look at the Frank Szczesniak car now, driver of car number 1, the Ferrari of Austin driver, Frank Szczesniak, then a very, very good driver in Trofeo Pirelli Am, our Trofeo Pirelli class of cars then, with the Pirelli Am drivers, the white strip across the top of the windscreen. There'll be 11 of those out there to set the best time that they can possibly in qualifying. And it was David Musial, of course, who won the race yesterday. We'll see what he can do during qualifying, but we have the likes of Frank Szczesniak, Brian Cook, who had a really, really tough day yesterday, Tony Davis, who banked the maximum that he could with an ailing car towards the end of the race. Ophir Levy, Christopher Cagnazzi, that we look at now, the Ferrari of Long Island driver. Also Sebastian Mascaro, very impressive yesterday. Omar Balkasoon, John Horst, Jay Logan, and Cyril Choksi as well. There's to name check all 11 drivers that will be out there for this qualifying session, of which 8 minutes and 10 seconds remain right now.
Interesting to see how Brian Cook can sort of come back from the difficult race he had yesterday. So these are all also qualities of a driver. Sort of cancel in your mind what you had yesterday. Today is another day, another qualifying, and let's go for it. Let's stick to the plan we had the whole season and back in the performance and the results we are used to have. So interesting to see how he reacts and performs in this qualifying.
You can't afford to take that baggage with you, Tony, can you? You've got to reset.
Yeah, that's 100%. So I've been lucky enough to race and know very good drivers, and one of the drivers who is impressive and almost not human in this aspect is Kimi. So Kimi Räikkönen, obviously, like I used to follow him a lot on track and in testing with the McLaren days, and obviously with Ferrari in 2007 F1 world champion. But he had a bad race, and you know, Sunday night it was like, it's okay, and next race he would do the best race of the season. So it's really amazing, and obviously he never brag about it, but after a few drinks, did you see me with the overtaking? Did you see, by the way, just for fun, I did the fastest lap of the race. So there's always the ego of the driver, and all these drivers here on track and with the endurance drivers, F1, we share the same thing. You need to be a little bit selfish to promote yourself occasionally, and Kimi had his own way on this, but just the fact that when he had a difficult race, it was impressive to see that he was better in the next one than ever before.
I have to say I'm thrilled that Kimi sat in your seat when we were at Daytona a few years ago and shared time on air with me, and I found it absolutely fascinating. And I'll be honest with you, Tony, I was as scared with him coming into the room as I am with you, but actually he proved to be great fun, and yeah, no, it was really, really good. Come on, back on script, Dave. Let's look at this qualifying session. 6 minutes remaining, and John Horsch is P1 at the moment. Here comes Cyril Choksi with his first lap time. Timed, and that gives us a P2 for Cyril Choksi. So John Horsch is quickest with a 1:26.6. Cyril Choksi just a 10.5 behind, a 1:26.826. Then it's Christopher Cagnazzi, Frank Szczesniak, Dave Musial. Yesterday's winner is currently 5th fastest ahead of Jay Logan and Sebastian Mascaro. Here comes Brian Cook then, and you'll see a slightly different livery on the Brian Cook car, because that suggests to me that he's in a T car, Tony, because the car suffered damage yesterday that is irreparable. Another driver that, or car that suffered a bit of damage yesterday was this, the car of Tony Davis. I mean, Tony dug really, really deep, and he nursed that car across the finish line. And Tony, to be fair to him, finished P4, so he banked valuable points, Tony.
Yeah, he had huge damage on the passenger side door after the start of the race. We could see some parts from the splitter and rear of the car just hanging the whole race. And you did the right spotting. You said he's driving a car that is for sure is not perfect, and he lost a place or two, but he did a great race on what he got at that moment. And today, like we said, a new day, all the damages have been repaired, and we are expecting a little bit more from Tony Davis. So yesterday, if you think of the importance of qualifying, he didn't qualify so well.
You're right.
And he was in the mix going into turn one. Qualify further up, and you avoid the casino, like we say in Italian, grande casino, a big mayhem in the turn one. So you need to perform in qualifying and stay away of trouble in turn one.
Jay Logan we're watching at right now. Cyril Choksi has now gone fastest, and momentarily it was with Dave Musial, as here comes Brian Cook now with a good time, and he improves 6 places, moves up to P4, so game on here in Trofeo Pirelli Am qualifying. Cyril Choksi, who's moved up from the Cobra Shell class into Pirelli Am, finds himself P1, then it's Dave Musial, John Horsch, Brian Cook, Chris Cagnazzi, Jay Logan. Here comes Tony Davis, and I think this is going to be a good time from Tony, as he heads towards breaking that timing beam now. From P10, Tony Davis goes to P4. And John Horsch goes back to the top of the times with a 1:24.709. 5 100s between P1 and P2. This is close. This is Dave Musial kicking up a bit of dust on the exit of that turn. The Ferrari of Lake Forest driver wants that Rotiform pole position award. He took the win yesterday. That surely will have garnered his confidence for today. P3 for Dave Musial. Make that P1 with a big margin, 8/10ths down.
Yeah, impressive driving coming out of the last turns and putting himself to the main straight. So you could clearly see the speed he was carrying through. For sure, full throttle, using all the track, coming just to the wall in the exit of the last corner. And impressive lap time from Musial.
Here's Sebastian Mascaro then, and he breaks the timing beam, and he improves a huge handful of places. He's up to P4 now, so really good driving from Sebastian. So Dave Musial, P1, then Cyril Choksi. Here comes Brian Cook. He needs to elevate himself further up the order. He does that by going up 3 places. He's up to P4 now, and we have got 2 3/4 minutes remaining in this qualifying session. Ofer Levy, who I was really impressed with yesterday, P8 at the moment as he breaks the timing beam. He goes from P8 up 4 places to P4. So it is all changing in this Trofeo Pirelli qualifying as Tony Davis crosses the timing line and he goes up to P3. So a better qualifying performance from Tony and a 1:24.493. So it's Musial from Choksi, from Davis, from Horsch, from Levy, and here's the number 70 car of Jay Logan, the Boardwalk Ferrari driver. And this is a really, really entertaining qualifying session with just a couple of minutes remaining. Our Trofeo Pirelli Am drivers out there giving it their all. Jay Logan improves a place as well. So tyres, everything up to temperature now. The car's behaving exactly as the drivers want, and they are able to deliver from their own inputs.
Yeah, now is the time to really take the car to the limits, do the things that you've done the whole weekend. In qualifying, normally the idea is do your best lap time of the whole weekend, and then you can be happy. And yeah, drivers are driving very hard. We can see a little bit of sideways movements on several cars, so low on traction control and really trying to push that throttle coming out of the slow corners.
Well done to Brian Cook in a T car. Look, he's been able to put it up to P2. Dave Musial feels that he's done the best he can. He's parked the car in the pit lane with a 1:23.881. Here comes Tony Davis. He's currently down there P9. This looks like it's going to be an improvement from Tony Davis then. P9 he sat at, or was that an install for this lap? I rather think it was. So this is going to be Tony Davis's last lap.
Yeah, and again, he's put himself a little bit into a difficult position. P9 going into his last lap, and he really needs to perform. Let's say 4 to 5 tenths improvement would really take him up in the order, and that would be really important.
Cyril Choksi, third fastest at the moment, with a time of 1:24.272. So Cyril Choksi crosses the final turn and heads out towards the start-finish line. It's fourth fastest now for Cyril Choksi as Tony Davis has been able to go to P3. So it's Musial, Cook, Davis, then it is Choksi, Horsch, Mascaro, Levy, Cagnazzi, Logan, Szczesniak. So, yeah, here is Tony Davis, who's on his final lap. So I think the transponder from Tony Davis's car didn't respond quite as quickly as we wanted because it didn't record Tony's time last time around. Obviously, it's reset itself, and it has given him his rightful time, which is P3. So Tony Davis then has improved significantly and banked a P3. Dave Musial, though, what a performance once again from Dave, Ferrari of Lake Forest driver, whose son, of course, will be out in the next qualifying session because he's a Trofeo Pirelli driver. Musial, and an impressive performance also, if I may say, from Brian Cook, Tony, in a T car. Now, you know, you get at one with your car, don't you? You form a relationship with it almost, and when you've got to get into another car, which is what Brian has had to do, you know, all of a sudden, I'm not saying it's starting from zero again, but it is a car that is not as familiar to you.
Yeah, this is true, but sometimes we need to remember these are race cars, so sometimes there is things that the handling is not perfect and you're losing a little bit of lap time, and if you have a chance to jump into another car and you go like, hey, this car is doing the things that I want, and then like in his qualifying now, he did the best performance of the weekend, and it's very nice to see. Musial, I must say, has been in a top shape the whole weekend,
yeah,
and also this qualifying, he just posted 1 or 2 quick lap times, and he was up in the order. He was P1, and then he parked the car early on, so used the strategy of saving the tires for the race. So this is a great performance from him.
Well, the final cars making their way around the Indianapolis track there, and it was a very good job done by Dave Musial. Brian Cook, P2, Tony Davis, P3. Then it was Cyril Choksi, John Horsch. They are the top 5 drivers. Pirelli drivers out next for their qualifying session. They will have 30 minutes on the clock with in which to post the best time that they can. And yeah, we see the final cars making their way back to the paddock. And been very, very impressed with Sebastian Mascaro, the number 29 driver. There is David Musial then, similar hairstyle to mine. He's congratulated by his team, quite rightly. Did a very, very good job yesterday and maintained that trajectory today. And of course, you know, if you start P1, you always want to win the race. He did that yesterday, and he'll be targeting exactly the same result today, I would have thought.
Yeah, exactly. And he had a great start also yesterday. He was able to pull away from the other drivers and basically raced almost on his own. So great performance.
Let's bring you the... thanks, Tony. Let's bring you the classification then of our Pirelli Am drivers then. And it was Dave Musial for Ferrari of Lake Forest, as you can see at the top of the chart. 123.881. He's ahead of Brian Cook, then Tony Davis, Cyril Choksi, John Horsch, Sebastian Mascaro, Ofer Levi, then Christopher Cagnazzi. They occupy the top 8 positions, and they are ahead of Jay Logan, Frank Sesniak, and regrettably Omar Balkasoon not setting a time in that qualifying session. Omar, we hope that we will see you out in the race. Up next are Pirelli drivers for our final qualifying session. Already it's underway. We've got 15 seconds gone already, and here comes a great golf swing. Watch this. Told you, straight down the fairway.
Yeah, looks like the same three gentlemen than yesterday.
Yeah, I think you're right. They're in the second round, aren't they? Well done, guys. Right. That's where you'll find Tony and I not. Right. There is Dave Musial's son, Dave Musial 2.0, the junior version. And speaking of the Musial family, David Senior has done a brilliant job in qualifying in Pirelli Am. Let's hear from him. He's with Shay.
Biggest mystery, gotta ask, what was the ice cream flavor of the night?
We actually went to Steak and Shake and got some milkshakes, so that was great. It was good.
Is that the secret that helped you get another pole position?
I don't know. I think the secret is Conquest Racing, Lake Forest Sports Cars, my coach, Peter, and, you know, my son, who's always pushing me to do better.
Well, in qualifying today, you did do better. You didn't stay out for the entirety of the session. How confident were you that your time was going to stick when you came into the pit lane with about 2 minutes to go?
I always try to stay humble, and I'll be honest, I was on the radio. I seen that I had the lap time of a 23, and I was like, I'm going to come in and save these tires. And they told me there was a second difference between me and the next guy. So I was like, you know what, I'm pretty confident.
Well, great job so far today. Good luck making it a perfect weekend.
Thank you. I hope to repeat yesterday's results.
Dave Musial, great, well done, P1, and that's the car that delivered it for him, the number 30 car then, David Musial. They're a lovely family, lovely people. I've had some really, really enjoyable times with them, and yeah, really done a very, very good job in qualifying, and now it's our Pirelli drivers that are out there, including the number 55 car, Roberto Perina. My goodness, if I could tell you, Tony, how many times, because the cars in terms of livery are very similar, how many times I've miscalled Roberto as being Massimo. Of course, his nephew that races in the 408 challenges, and I apologize to the family for that, but it's all been Perina. I think I'm just going to say Perina from here on.
Yeah, Roberto yesterday, he was about to do an amazing start. He went almost like the fourth car inside going into turn 1, but then he backed off. No accidents, no contacts, and then he lost a little bit of places at the start. He had a sort of progressive race where towards the end of the race he was really fast. He hasn't been really charging for the top places in qualifying, so let's see if there's something different on his performance today, and he's a very good driver, and we've seen great performance from him this year.
I'm not asking you to reveal any secrets here, Tony, but the Perina family, and we're watching Roberto for Ferrari of Seattle. One of the driver coaches that are used is Daniel Mancinelli. He's not here this weekend because he's racing in Fuji. So will that have an impact, do you think, on, I mean, are the two things connected, do you think?
No, for sure it's connected, because it's a great importance, because a driver with a more experience, he can deliver, he can give us so much insight, he can give so much information regarding the driver technique, the racing line, with new tires, how to prepare them, which lap, go for it, and keep the focus on the important things, which are the racing line. Keep hitting the same marks, brake hard, remember the brake pressure, don't be over aggressive with the steering wheel, don't create the oversteer by your driving, let the car sort of breathe, roll into the corners. So there are so many aspects of driving that you just need to fine tune, and it's never hurt anybody to just have a one opinion more. And when it comes from the experienced driver, it often helps. So it may be a combination of the things, a little bit from the race car, a little bit from the driver, and maybe the fact that Mancinelli is not here. But let's hope for a good qualifying for Berina in the second qualifying session, and this way he could start closer to the top of the Pirelli class.
Thank you, Tony Verlander. Well, Dave Musial Jr. is emulating his father's success at the moment in qualifying because he's P1 with a time of 1:23.857. Then it's Jason McCarthy, double duties this weekend because he's racing in the 488 Challenge as well. And then it is Roberto Berena, who is third fastest. Then Joe Rubo, Matthias Perez-Companc, who, of course, was victorious yesterday. Not seen a really meaningful time from Matthias yet. Expect that to come. And Dylan Medler's also going to be worth watching this race as well. So Dylan Medler, who was on the podium yesterday with a very fine P2, and that's the second P2 in a row, because he took P2 in the second race at Sonoma, digging deep in my memory bank, which is failing with the ravages of age.
Yeah, the two drivers we see now in the images, so Dylan Medler and Matthias Perez-Companc. So those were the two drivers, separated the whole race yesterday, but less than a second, fighting for that overall win. Dylan Medler looked like he had a little bit more pace than Matthias, but he was able to stay calm and keep his car in the right place. There was one sort of an overtaken maneuver going into turn one, and then Dylan backed off.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be a repeat of yesterday, a tight battle between these two. And also, it's funny you mentioned Jason McCarthy, and it almost came to my mind that Jason was driving his 488 earlier than almost like a 296, going too late on the brakes and trying to seek the performance only in the braking and just carrying too much speed. The things that you can do with the new 296 Challenge car, and maybe not with the 488 Challenge.
Well, Matthias Companc was momentarily at the top of the chart, but now Dave Musial 2.0 has put in a 1:23.584. Matthias Companc is P2. Here comes Michael Porter. Dylan Medler is third fastest at the moment, and Michael Porter goes up to fifth fastest within the Pirelli class of cars. So it is Musial Jr. from Companc, from Medler, from Perina, from Porter, from Rubo, from McCarthy. Here comes Dylan Medler then. What can he do? What can he find? He's got to find just under 4/10 to go to P1. He's going to hug the concrete. Whoa! I backed up in my chair. I thought he was coming through the screen. Dylan Medler's done it. A 1:23.217, Tony. That was a great time posted by Dylan Medler.
Yeah, great performance, and Matthias was not able to respond. I think he went a little bit wide going into turn 12. The images just cut him off, and I think it looked like his racing line was a little bit off. Dylan Medler is around repeating the same lap time that was pole position yesterday. So his performance on low 23s is starting to be there. So now it's all about fine-tuning your driving, and if somebody can find another 10th or two and to improve your grid position.
So it's Dylan Medler, P1. It's Matthias Companc, P2. It's Dave Musial Jr., who is P3. Now, this is the driver of the number 11 car. We were watching him. Jason McCarthy is currently sixth fastest, as Michael Porter for the Ferrari of Seattle team tries to improve on his P7 position at the moment. And he's about a second and a bit down on the time that Dylan Medler set, and he stays P7 for the moment. We've still got 2 minutes to run, though. So still an opportunity for these drivers to improve. And one of those that's targeting an improvement is Matthias Companc. Now that surely would have done for this lap.
Yeah,
Tony.
he's fighting with his car. So that is an interesting area and part of the track. So basically those low speed corners, you're asking a lot from the car, a lot of rotation. You tap the brakes and the balance of the car changes. And you could see that Matthias was fighting a lot his car on this lap, and he's not really able to improve. So I think he needs to calm down a bit and just be confident that it's enough what he's done in the past, and he needs clean lines. Sideways with these type of race cars, he's not the fastest.
this could be his last lap, because I think he crossed the line with about 1:23 left on the clock, so it's really touch and go as to whether he could do another lap after this one. Jason McCarthy certainly won't be able to do another lap, and he stays P6. And Roberto Perina crosses the timing line. He will, of course, like Jason McCarthy, have one more lap because they've crossed the timing line with still some time on it. But I reckon it was potentially the last opportunity that Matthias Compact will have.
Yeah, he's had some traffic. There's somebody flashing behind him. I think it was Dylan Medler. Matthias had some traffic in front of him. And let's see what happens here. It's going to be close. He has 20 seconds now. He's coming out from the last turn right now. It's really going to be tight. I think he'll make another lap. 10 seconds on the clock.
Yes, he's going to do it.
Yeah, another lap. This is the last lap.
Well, I was 4 seconds out, Tony. Forgive me.
It's okay. You were in UK time, so.
So Dylan Medler, P1. Matthias Compact is going again. The checkered flag is out on the session now, bringing the session to a close. And Matthias Compact, we're running the clock on as we look. I think this is the Joe Rubo Cup. Coming into this sequence of turns, sure enough, it is Joe Rubo, the Ferrari of Long Island driver. This will be his last lap because the checkered flag is out now. He's currently 5th fastest in our Pirelli drivers. Will he stay 5th fastest or will he improve? That's what he's targeting as he runs out to the wall and gets ready to cross the timing beam. 5th fastest for Joe Rubo, stays 5th fastest. So he is done. Dave Musial 2.0 has brought the car into the pit lane, and here is Matthias Compact. This is his last lap, and he's bailed it, Tony. He has bailed it.
Yeah, he tried. He did some mistakes. I think Dylan Medler, we saw the speed yesterday, and today he was able to execute perfectly. And yeah, the reward is the pole position. Great battle between these two drivers. So a little bit over 1/10 of a second. So minimum margin and great front row for today's race.
Yes, well done to Dylan Medler then, the collection driver, Ferrari of Miami. Dylan's a really, really charming young man. I've spent quite some time with Dylan and had quite a few laughs with him. And Tony, I sat down with him and we did a piece for one of our highlights programs with him, and he was great fun to talk to. And his girlfriend was standing by watching everything that was going on, and as I walked away, we'd finished recording. Basically, the cameras keep rolling because they want a few cutaway shots of the driver, and I said off air, I said, Dylan, you were brilliant. However, she thought you were rubbish. Great laughter and hilarity, you know, because she didn't think that at all, and it was me goading them. But we've had brilliant fun, and I enjoyed those moments so much. And Dylan Medler, well done to you, friend. P1.
Enjoying the moments right now, Dylan. You got out of the car and it was a giant cheer from your entire fan section. What's it like to get pole position at Indy?
I mean, pole position is always good. That's where we're supposed to be, and I couldn't have done it without my team. It's just such a good experience here, especially since we're fighting for the championship.
Does that make this trophy mean even more to you?
Of course, that extra point always counts, so we're looking forward to the race now.
Good luck later.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, the fan club there. Well done, Dylan Medler. He did a brilliant job. He's a very talented driver. He's blooming big, Tony. I mean, he is tall. Right, let me get to the results. Dylan Medler, P1. Matthias Perez Compact, P2. Dave Musial Jr., P3. Then it's Roberto Perina, Joe Rubo, Jason McCarthy, and Michael Porter. The Trofeo Pirelli qualifying done and dusted. Indianapolis Motor Speedway, where we've got 3 brilliant races to come. From Shea Adam, from Tony Verlander, and from myself, thank you so much for watching. We'll be back just after 1 o'clock this afternoon. Please join us then. Bye-bye for now.